Good evening, everyone. The title of today's story is The Pig with the Runaway Tail. The author of the story is Parinita Shetty and the illustrator is Parvati Pillai. Okay, it's a level 2 book from the storyweaver.org.in. So, what is a runaway? What is the meaning of runaway? Runaway means something that runs off, runs away, hides, trying to get away from something. Okay, so this is the story of a pig. His name is Pongal. He loves to sleep. Pongal the pig loves sleeping. Sometimes she sleeps all day. No wonder her tail gets bored easily. One day, when Pongal wakes up from her afternoon nap, her tail is nowhere to be found. It has gone on an adventure without her. Oh, you see the tail? So this is the tail. And it has taken a traveling kit with itself, a stick with which a bag to hold on. So if you read old stories, you see people traveling with such sticks with their belongings in a little bag, some food and clothes and money and stuff. So this is the tail. Remember, okay, you have to recognize it. If you find it somewhere in the next pages, you have to tell me. The pig feels silly without a tail, so she decides to go look for it. How sad she is. See, she's crying. Pongal is crying. Scrunch! This forest is much too untidy, Pongal says. Eek! She trips over a log. Dhadam! She falls into a bush. And there is the tail hiding somewhere close by on the vines of the tree?
Yes.
Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal asks. Why don't you try a mushroom tail instead? Langur replies. The langur is giving a suggestion. Hump, Pongal says, but I want my own tail back. She goes to look for it somewhere else. The tail has moved from here. Oof, this city is much too noisy, Pongal says. Beep, beep. She dodges a zigzagging auto rickshaw. Tring, tring. She tries to crawl under a bicycle. I don't see the tail here. Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal asks. Why don't you try a balloon tail instead? Gah, Pongal says, but I want my own tail back, although she tries the balloon tail too, like she tried the mushroom tail. She goes to look for it somewhere else. I see the tail right here. It's hiding away with the balloons. Oh my God, look here. Grump. This cave is much too dark, Pongal says. Click, clack. She carefully steps forward on the stone floor. Crack. She tumbles into a pile of rock. Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal says. I see her tail right here, hidden in the drawings. Did you see that? Why don't you try a stalactite tail instead? Bat replies. You see these bats hanging from up here? Oof, Pongal says, but I want my own tail back. She goes to look for it somewhere else. What is a stalactile? Stalactite. These things hanging from the top, normally made of icicles. So when it snows and then when it gets warm, the ice melts and then freezes again before melting away completely. So then it forms these drop down structures. These are called stalactite. They are made up of ice. Splish, splosh, it's much too wet under the ocean, Pongal says. Dhum, dhum. Some colorful fishes want to dance with Pongal, and I see the tail right here in the ocean. I think the tail is following the Pongal, not other way around. Or whoosh, she hides behind some coral. Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal asks. Why don't you try a seaweed tail instead? Turtle replies. Ah, Pongal says, but I want my own tail back. She goes to look for it somewhere else. You see, this is the seaweed tail Pongal is trying. Plonk! This desert is much too hot, Pongal says. She doesn't realize she's sitting on the edge of a dune, sand dune. She can slip down. Whoosh! She rolls all the way down to the bottom. That's what happens on the top of the dune. Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal asks. Oh, I see it here, right here. Why don't you try a cactus tail instead? Camel replies. What animal do we find in the desert? A camel. Oh, Pongal squeals. Cactus cannot be comfortable. No. There are so many thorns on it. But I want my own tail back. She goes to look for it somewhere else. Brrr, the top of a mountain is much too cold, Pongal says. Aye, the rest of the world is a long way below. Thump, thump. She steps back before she feels too dizzy, and I see the tail flying with the snow. Has anybody seen my tail? Pongal asks. Why don't you try a sock tail instead? Yak replies. Pongal stares at her newest tail. This is very pretty, Pongal says. She remembers all the other tails she tried on. Harumph! I'm certainly not going to wear a cactus ever again. That must be the most uncomfortable. And the stalactite could not have been fun either. But having so many different tails is actually quite fun. Everybody else has the same one forever, she realizes. Pongal comes to a decision. The tail can travel the world and have its own adventures. The pig will stay back home and have her own. She doesn't want to travel. She wants to stay at home and have her adventures. So when the tail realized that, she thought, okay, so Pongal is going back. Now I can have my own adventures. And she's going all over the world, you see. Even in a UFO. That's all for today. Thanks for listening.